Okay, we're on. There was no countdown, so I was just looking for the countdown. All right. Rosh Chodesh Sameach. I see all of you learned very well from Grayson how to tell what day it is, and he knows that it was tomorrow when he said yesterday. Okay. All right, so Rosh Chodesh Sameach. Welcome to our new moon celebration. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have our new moon service, followed by some announcements, and then possibly some thoughts. I'm sure I'll have something to say at that point. All right, so that being said, this is the way this is going to work. So it's a participation service. You guys online, you can read along on the screen because we'll have the words on the screen as we go through the service. It's a very short service, only about 15 minutes or so. And so if you want to, if you're here, you can go ahead and stand up and we can go through it together. Okay, if you can't stand, that's okay, no problem. But it's, like I said, it's fairly short, and we can try to make this work. All right, that being said, we'll begin with the sounding of the silver trumpets. Of course, this will work better when we have the TV working with the slides in the screen and all that stuff. Okay, oh, there it goes. No, Marty's working on something. Oh, here we go. All right. Together. Yahweh Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Is it not up there? Not up there yet. Now it is. Okay, let's try it again. Together. Yahweh Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Yahweh, open my lips that my mouth declare your praise. May the expressions of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, Yahweh, my rock and my redeemer. Also in the day of your gladness and in your appointed times and in the beginning of your months, you shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings, over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your Elohim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. The Kedushat Levanah, the sanctification of the new moon. O Yahweh, our Elohim, and Elohim of our fathers, make this coming month one of good and blessing. Grant us long life, a life of peace, of good, of blessing, of sustenance, of vigor. A life marked by a reverence for you and a dread of sin. A life free from shame and reproach. A life of prosperity and honor. A life in which love of the living Torah and the fear of Elohim animates us. A life in which our heartfelt desires are fulfilled for good. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Amen. He who performed miracles for our fathers and liberated them from slavery to freedom, may he quickly liberate us and gather our exiles from the four corners of the earth, and let us say, Amen. The new moon of the month of Shabbat is today. May it prove to be good and fruitful for all 12 tribes of Israel. Yeah. May the set-apart one, blessed be he, grant this Rosh Chodesh to us and to all his people, for life and peace, for gladness and joy, for deliverance and consolation, and let us say, Amen. Together. Blessed, praised, glorified, honored, and exalted be the name of the King of Kings, the set-apart one. Blessed be he, who is the first and the last, and beside him there is no Elohim. Extol him in the heavens. Yahweh is his name. Rejoice before his face. His name is honored beyond all blessing and praise. Blessed be his name, whose glorious kingdom is forever. Let the name of Yahweh be blessed forever and ever. Isaiah 66, verses 22 and 23. For as the new heavens and the new earth that I make stand before me, declares Yahweh, so your seed and your name shall stand. And it shall be that from Rosh Chodesh to Rosh Chodesh, and from Shabbat to Shabbat, all flesh shall come to worship before me, declares Yahweh. Amen, amen. Rosh Chodesh Sameach. All right, you may be seated. All right, because we do have people on tonight, and maybe they don't get to come on with us all the time, I do want to hit the announcements real quickly here. So first of all, if you're a guest, I want to welcome all of our guests that may be online and here. I'm going to welcome you, okay? And so as a guest, we'd like you to know about some of the things that we provide, okay? And they're all free, and we don't charge for anything. And so we just want to let you know the things that are available to you because we think they would be a blessing. We'd like to encourage you to take an opportunity to avail yourself of some of these things. So we do stream our Shabbat service every week, okay, every Saturday at 1:15 in the afternoon, every Saturday. Now the stream actually starts at 1, but we don't go live until quarter after with the sounding of the shofar and we get started. But for those first 15 minutes, you'll be seeing slides like you see now with announcements of upcoming things that we're doing. You may see some clips from the praise team or a clip from one of my teachings. You're not going to see us selling you anything. I watch people's pre-stream on some of their streams, and they're always selling something. I don't have anything to sell here, okay? So every Shabbat, 1:15. If you're going to be watching the Shabbat service, just a heads up in advance. Full disclosure, it runs until 5:30. So it's a 4 and 15 minutes type of thing. It's a long time. However, why would you think it was a long time? Well, because you just said it was. I understand. But it's Shabbat. What else do you have to do? Right? What would you rather do than meet with the brethren before the Father, get instructed, sing and praise, etc., etc.? I mean, that's the best things for you to be doing on Shabbat. Okay? All right, we also stream on Fridays. This is our Erev Shabbat service and Torah study. Okay, now the service isn't streamed. So for those of you that are here locally, if you can be here locally, we do have a meal and service that starts at 6, and then we stream at 7:30. Okay, that's when we would stream our Torah study. So we do a Torah study using the Parsha cycle. The Parsha cycle is a 1-year cycle that goes from Genesis to Deuteronomy. Okay, about 4 or 5 chapters per week. And it starts right after Sukkot and ends right before Sukkot. We're right now in the book of Shemot, the book of Exodus, okay, doing that cycle. So we go through the Torah portion. So we read it, then we discuss what we read. And so we encourage you, if you want to come and be a part of it, we stream this online. And by the way, for those of you that are new, our online stream is more interactive than most. I'm not going to say than everybody, but certainly than most of the ones I see out there. Which means that when we get to a part where there's a Q&A or interaction or discussion, if you're online, you get to type that in, and we have people here that will read that over the microphone, and we'll get to interact with you, okay? So we are pretty interactive as best as we can be. Because we know that for a lot of you, this is, at this point, sadly, and I say sadly because I wish you had something live and local where you are, this may be your best option at the moment, because there isn't anything live and local for you to go to, okay? So we want to make this, I want you to feel like you're part of the group, like you're here, even though you're not here. And we do I think I'm really proud of the team that puts the media together, the camera work and everything else. We do a really good job, I think, of doing that. Yeah, give them a clap. All right. All of a sudden I had a Jurassic Park moment. I said, spared no expense. All right, so the Torah portion cycle, we actually have a handout that you can print out on our website. There's a PDF of the schedule. Okay, so you go to MTOI.org under the media tab, and you can see the Parsha schedule to download. You can look at it right there on your phone or on your computer, or you can go ahead and download it and print it out. Okay, so it has 3 things on it. It's got the Torah portion, it's got the Haftorah portion, which is the portion that comes from the prophets and the writings, and it has a Brit Hadashah portion, the New Testament portion. Just the New Testament portion, though, is not necessarily connected like the other 2. The Haftorah portion is connected to that week's Torah portion. I'm not really comfortable with a lot of the groups out there that have tried to pick, New Testament verses that kind of sort of match with the Old Testament. It's a little challenging to do sometimes. So rather than do that, what I decided to do was to give you a one-year cycle that takes you through one gospel and all the rest of the New Testament. Okay, one gospel and all the rest. So this year we're starting, this is our first year doing this, with Matthew. Next year will be Mark, then Luke, then John. Okay, so in 4 years you'll have covered all 4 gospels and you'll have gone through everything else 4 times. So I think that's a fantastic way to get you basically through the entirety of the New Testament and get really comfortable with all of the elements there. All right, then we have a program for the children, and it goes along with the same Torah portion cycle, but at their level. So it's at their level, and we also try to make it as enjoyable as we possibly can so that they look forward to it and they get excited about studying the Word. And so we want them to engage with the Word, and we want them to enjoy that engagement with the Word. So it's called Parsha Pearls is the program. It's free. It's on a separate website, ymtoi.org. ymtoi.org. Fantastic program put together by my extremely talented wife, Rebbetzin Julie. And she has an incredible team of people that help her with that and help develop all of the materials. All the materials are developed here by us. Okay, we don't go out on the internet and just grab stuff and put it together for you. Okay, this is all stuff we developed here. And so listen to all the things you get in this program. So first of all, the program is for 2 different age ranges. Okay, so we have a younger group called the Gem Seekers, 5 to 8, and then the Pearl Seekers, 9 to about 19. On the screen, it says 99 plus, because really I think anybody and everybody could benefit from the program. Okay, especially if you're new, you will definitely learn something, I promise you, from my wife's program. It's a fantastic program. Now, if you go to the website, every week there'll be there a PDF for each of the age groups. So there'll be 2 different PDFs. And sometimes more than 2 because we have version 1 and version 2 of some of these things over the years developed, and sometimes even a version 3. Okay, but you're going to get that for each of the age groups. And it's about 35 pages each or so, give or take a page or 2, but right around there. And each one is going to have in it child-friendly stories from the Torah portion, lessons. Actually, everything that I'm about to tell you is from that week's Torah portion, right? It's not a bunch of fluff and a little bit about the portion. It's all Torah portion specific. Lesson questions, Hebrew word study. So you have some flashcards you can print out with some of the words from that week's study. Memory verses, word searches, crossword puzzles, mazes, crafts, notebook pages, coloring pages, even a song and a snack with instruction, pictures, guidance to do all of these different things, okay? I mean, that's just an incredible amount of stuff. So for all of you out there that are new and you're always wondering that, well, I don't know what to do with my children. On Shabbat, this is something you could be doing with your children. This program publishes on Sunday, so you have all week with it. So what we end up doing on Friday publishes the previous Sunday. So today, the new one published that we're going to be doing on Friday. All right? So you'll have that today. And so those publish on Sunday, so you can use them all week long in your homeschooling if you want. You can use them and prepare to use them for your Saturday Sabbath school if you have a congregation that you go to and do that. We use the program here in our Sabbath school for our children, okay? So they go through the program here during the time when I'm teaching. They're upstairs in classrooms going over the program. All right, so fantastic program. We also have audio scripture readings available to you, put together by our own Shira Wendling, who did a fantastic job of reading everything from Genesis to Revelation and recording it for us. It's on the MTOI website and under the media tab. And the scripture readings are in the first 5 books are actually separated out by Torah portion. So you can listen to this week's Torah portion if you want to listen to it just separately, on our website. Okay, so they're on the MTOI site. They're free. You can download them and enjoy them. All right, then we have things we publish on YouTube every day during the week, Monday through Friday. On Monday, we publish what's called the First Look. First Look is like a movie preview for a movie. This is an audio preview or audio-visual preview for a teaching that I did. So this is going to give you some powerful sound bites from that teaching that's going to publish later in the week. All right, so you can enjoy that. And then on Tuesdays, we publish what's called the YouTube Shorts. We call them Rabbi Trails on our MTOI app. They're basically short 1 minute or less videos that cover all kinds of great little sound bites that maybe came out of a teaching that sort of stand alone and can kind of get your attention and kind of poke at you to prod you maybe to take some action in some way. So enjoy those. I think we published 10 of those on Tuesday. And then we have on Wednesday the full teaching. Okay, Wednesdays on YouTube, we put the full teaching. So what we previewed for you on Monday, you get the full teaching on Wednesday. Okay? Then on Thursdays, we publish the afterburn. So the afterburn is after I do a teaching, I open up the floor for thoughts, questions, comments and that kind of thing. I answer questions. It's kind of like making sure that whatever people heard, they understood, so they get to ask questions like, well, when you said this, what did you mean here? Or how does this work here? Just to really help. It's almost like a second teaching of the same material. So it really helps to clarify. And that goes also about an hour or so. And so that's something that we publish on Thursdays. So that's the same afterburn that goes with the Wednesday teaching. So Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday are all connected to the same teaching. All right? Are the Tuesday shorts also for the same teaching? No. Okay, so those are from other older teachings. All right. So then on Fridays, we publish what's called an In Focus, which is also from other teachings, not the same one during that week. And these are short videos that kind of little standalone little rabbi trails, I would call them. When I went off in a side direction and took maybe 10 or 15 minutes to really explain something that was part of that teaching but could stand alone on its own. And we pull those out, and they focus on our relationships with each other and things that affect our relationship with our Elohim. And these are published on Fridays. The teaching that it came from was also listed with that, so you can see it'll be on the screen. It'll say this came from this teaching, part whatever, so you know if you want to go hear the whole teaching. So that's on Fridays, all right? So you can also find us on social media. We're on Facebook, MTOI Worldwide, and on Instagram, MTOI_Worldwide. And we also have our own MTOI app, which we're very excited about. And yes, there is still time to be in the first 2,000. Okay, we have almost 1,700 downloads of the app at this point, which is fantastic. We're very excited about reaching people and helping people. And so go ahead and look for that on your app stores, whatever devices you use, and you should be able to find it there and download it. It's a way that you'll get notifications from us. All the teachings are posted there. The live streams are linked there. There's tremendous resources on the app, and we're developing more all the time. All right. So then we have our live programming. We have our Torah Teens, which is a class that is for teenagers, done and moderated by our own Rabbi Tom Mitchell, who just has a really excellent rapport with the teenagers and helping them to come out of their shell and to kind of find their voice. And so they read through various books of the scriptures. They talk about and discuss what was written in those books. And he really helps them to see what it's like to talk to someone upline in the vertical structure, like someone who's a leader, a rabbi. And so, because I know some of you, the first time you talk to someone in that kind of capacity, maybe when you were younger, going to the first time you were in a church, you talked to the pastor even. There's a certain intimidation, a certain uncomfortability with that first interaction. And so these teenagers are learning a proper, respectful way to interact with leadership. So it's a fantastic opportunity. Now, this live programming is every Thursday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Thursdays at 1. It's on Zoom, so we use the Zoom video chat platform. To get the link to the class, just email us at torahtime@mtoi.org, torahtime@mtoi.org. And it's an autoresponder, so you don't have to write anything in the email. Just send the email, and it will reply back with the link. Okay, same link works every week, so if you already have the link, you don't have to do this every week. But if you happen to misplace it or lose it or something, just send another email. You get another link. Okay. Now, this class is for teenagers. Please keep the room that your teenagers are in on their screen, on their phones, or on their computers following along, free of younger ones or older ones. Younger ones can be a distraction. Older ones can intimidate and make them feel awkward because they know that they may be being scrutinized and judged by the older ones. And that includes you parents. Okay, I don't want you in the room. No, don't get all upset. You can be in the room if you want just to see what's going on because I know you're concerned about what your children are doing and learning. Don't be on camera. Okay, it's a video chat. Stand off to the side a little bit and don't be on camera. Okay? And once you're comfortable and confident what's going on, just go ahead and leave because otherwise your teenager will be the only teenager that doesn't get the full experience because you're standing there. And you know full well that if you're in the room, they're not going to act the way they really want to and be themselves and ask the questions they want or make the comments they want to make. And you don't have to worry about them embarrassing you. Rabbi Tom can handle them quite nicely. Okay? All right. So it's every Thursday, 1 o'clock, live on Zoom. Then we have our Hebrew class. Yes. And you guys did pretty good yesterday when we had our Hebrew class. So the next one is in 2 weeks. So it's on February the 4th. All right, it's our next Hebrew class. It's in 2 weeks on February the 4th. That'll be after our Shabbat oneg. After we have our service, after we eat together, then we have the Hebrew class. There may not be too many more after this. I want to do one or two where we start to get you guys to learn how to do the writing of the script. And so once I get that accomplished, we'll finish the class, and then we'll see what else I may want to teach you guys after services on Saturdays. Now, all right, then we have our zone meetings. All right, the zone meetings. The zone meetings are my strong desire and effort to be with the people that are wanting to do what we're doing together with us anywhere in the world when it's still Shabbat where they are. Because let's face it, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon for us here. It's not going to still be Shabbat if you're in Africa or Europe, or if you're in Australia or Japan or India or Indonesia or the Philippines. Their time zones make it so that it's already Sunday. And so so what I've done is, and I didn't want to skip out on the people that are in this time zone either, so I made the separate time for Q&A. Because let's face it, if we're honest, we all have questions. Okay? We all have questions. Now, the afterburn is an opportunity to talk about and have questions about that particular teaching. This is an opportunity to ask questions about anything. Okay? Anything that has to do with your walk and the scriptures, you can ask at these meetings. Okay? So we do this 3 different times during the month for 3 different ranges of time zones. That's why I call them zone meetings. Okay? So zone 1 are the time zones that include the U.S., Canada, Mexico, South and Central America, and any of the other islands or anything else that's in that range of time zones. So if I don't mention your country, it's okay. You're included, but it's just the range of the time zones. Now, zone 1, because we have a local congregation as large as it is, and the people that follow that are here in this range of time zones, we break that up into 2 different categories. Once a month, we have zone 1, but every other month it switches who gets to ask the questions. And that's really the big deal about the zone meetings. Everybody can come to all of them. And actually, you all don't. A lot of you do. We had 140-something computers on the last one. That was fantastic, okay? All right? From all around the world. And that was the zone 3, which is the furthest time zones away. Now, so the next one that we're doing, I know I misspoke the other day. The next one we're doing for zone 1 is for the local people. All right? It's the local ones. We did the online ones last time, right? So this is for the locals. So zone 1, locals, Beth Shalom people. So this will be, zone 1 is always during our service on Shabbat, the first Saturday of the month. So instead of the teaching time, we do this as a teaching time. And actually, you end up getting lots and lots of mini teachings in the answers to the questions, okay? So that's zone 1, which means that in March, okay, for February, it's going to be the locals. In March, it will be for all of you that live in all those different places, U.S., Canada, etc., who don't live here to ask the questions online, okay? And you get to submit your questions. Then we get to zone 2. All right, zone 2 and zone 3 are both hosted on Zoom, and they both have the same link for that room. And to get the link for that, you email us at zoom@mtoi.org. Zoom, I still am talking to people that surprise me who say that they weren't in the zone because they didn't know how to do it. Send an email, click on the link. It's not real hard, okay? And it's an autoresponder, and when you get the autoresponder, that link is good to all of the zone 2 and zone 3 meetings. So that would be on the second Shabbat for zone 2. So the first Shabbat was zone 1. The second Shabbat of the month is zone 2. That's February the 11th. And that's at 10 a.m. because it's zone 2 is Africa, Europe, UK, which are all places that are in the sort of 6 to 8, 9, or 10 hours ahead of us. So that area, 6 hours ahead, when it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon for us, it's already 7 o'clock at night for them. And by the time we get to the teaching time, it's well after sundown where they are. And therefore, we're not still doing a Shabbat thing for them. So if I start at 10 in the morning, well, then it's going to be early to mid-afternoon for them. Okay, so it'll catch the time right for them. Now, then we get to our zone 3. Zone 3 is the furthest away. That's the third Friday of the month. Okay, zone 1, first Saturday, zone 2, second Saturday, zone 3, third Friday. So it should be easy enough to remember. That's places like Australia, New Zealand, Japan, the Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Fiji, China, India, parts of India, and any country I didn't mention that is in that same range of, like, say, 11 to 17 hours ahead, okay? And so that meets on Friday so that it's still Saturday where they are. Because if we're doing this at 10 o'clock at night, well, places like the Philippines that are 12 hours ahead, that's 10 o'clock in the morning. Places that are further ahead, it's maybe 1 and 2 in the afternoon. So we still get to have a Shabbat meeting with them. Now, the third Friday of the month is also every Friday of the month for us is always an Erev Shabbat Torah study. So we're going to do for that is we have our Torah study first, and we finish by 10 o'clock, if I remember. This Friday, I forgot, but everybody said to me, by the way, it's 10 o'clock, so we hurried up and switched. Okay, so we go from one Torah study into a Q&A session. All right, again, a reminder, everybody can come to all of them, provided you're awake and it's the right time zone for you to be awake for, but everybody can come to all of them. Okay, yeah? And just remember, though, you don't get to ask questions when it's not your zone, okay? So when we do zone 3 and you live in zone 2, you don't get to ask the questions. Now, I try to block out a minimum of 2 hours. I think is a reasonable amount of time. So if, for whatever reason, and this has happened once or twice, the people in that zone asked all their questions in less than 2 hours, I may allow then for somebody else to ask questions from other zones. So that is something I will do. I won't just end it short necessarily, because I'm here to just give. So I'll give you the full 2 hours. If there's no questions from one zone, we can open up to other people. Okay, that being said, okay, if you have questions, I want you to do it this way primarily. I know we have Marco Polo groups for it. I'd rather you ask them in the zones. More people can benefit from the questions and the questions being answered. I mean, that's one of the beauties of all of this is that if you ask a question, okay, other people might have had the same question but didn't ask or were afraid to ask or didn't like the mic or whatever it was, and you're blessing them by asking the question. And then everybody gets to hear the answer. A lot of you have told me you came to the zone meetings and your questions got answered even though you weren't the one asking it. That's fantastic. That's why you want to come to these meetings. They're not recorded. They're not posted anywhere because we want people to feel comfortable that this is private for just that moment, which also means any little nuggets, any little discernments that I threw out there that night and you weren't there, you missed it, okay? And so that's sort of another encouragement and blessing that if you're in the meeting, because I almost always will throw you something that you never heard anywhere else that I didn't say in any other recording anywhere, all right? All right. However, if you really still want to ask questions and you don't really feel comfortable with the zone meeting format, you can email us at questions@mtoi.org, or you can go to the MTOI Contact Us page on mtoi.org, the Contact Us page, and scroll down to the bottom of the page. There's a form to fill out and ask your question. Please be patient with your answers. They do come. We don't have a whole lot of people on staff here, so sometimes the volume that comes in takes a little while to plow through, but we do try to get to that as best we can. If you have an urgency, which I'm sure at this point, I'm absolutely convinced you have no idea what the word means. Go look it up in the dictionary, because Elder and I could tell you that we have people contacting us that they think is urgent, things that are not urgent. And so he's nodding. He's like, yep. Okay, first of all, if you have an urgency on Shabbat, leaving us a message on the urgent line on our phone here, you need to know we're not going to get the message till afterwards because we're here in the service. We're not checking it during Shabbat. I know that's a tough thing. If there's enough need for it, maybe we'll switch to have somebody to monitor that. But, it seems like every Shabbat during the service, somebody's calling the line. And almost always it's not urgent. Every now and then it is. Okay? And we're like, but we're live on the stream. Why would you be leaving the message now? You should be watching and participating in the service. Okay? Of course, if it's an urgent thing and something tragic is happening, you wouldn't necessarily be watching the service. But you know that that's where we are. And so please, understand. And again, I just want you to understand why we didn't answer you. I don't want you to get mad at us, okay? Now, we also are going to be posting information here soon on how you can WhatsApp us or how we're going to work the WhatsApp deal for those of you that live in other countries, okay, so that you can't call here with your question. Because really, if you're in an urgency, calling here is the best way to go. If you have a really pressing question you really want answers to, if you need counsel, calling here is the best way to go. But I also know that not everybody watching me now, or will watch me later whenever they get to watch, lives in the time zones where that works real well, or where it's effectively, or I should say cost-effective for them to make a phone call. It could be pretty pricey from some places. So that being said, WhatsApp is a free way to do it. And I was really surprised when I learned that some countries, it's almost the primary phone use is WhatsApp. Like they don't have like local phones like as much as they just use WhatsApp. Okay, it's like the way everybody in South Africa communicates with each other. They WhatsApp each other. So just so you have that in mind. Okay, so because we want to answer your questions, we want to get to them. All right? All right. So now we have announcement of our next Rosh Chodesh. We just are now in the middle of this one, so you should know when the next one is. It's the Rosh Chodesh for the month of Adar. That will be Tuesday, February the 21st. Okay, no meal in the get-together, but we are going to do like tonight where you can bring a dessert, and we will be broadcasting that at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. All right? Then we have our leadership meeting, which somehow we got out of order. No, that we're in right order here, right? February, yeah, well, the leadership meeting, I put it in the wrong order. It's my fault. All right, leadership meeting is on the 12th, February the 12th. That's a Sunday. Please pray for your leaders. Okay, we have a leadership council of worldwide leadership from MTOI leaders, okay, not just random people, but MTOI leaders, people that are leading MTOI extended congregations. And so we have those in the Philippines and New Zealand. We have them in places like Ohio and Texas. We have them in places like the UK and South Africa. We have them all over the place, all right? And so we get together once a month to discuss how can we work together effectively serving the body on behalf of the Father, all right? And so you should be praying for those meetings. And you should be also praying blessings on the people willing to take time out of their lives to be trying to, understand what the Father would have us do to bless you guys, all right, to serve your needs. Yeah, you can clap for that. All right, and I have to tell you something. Most of the men in that meeting have been with me for years. Most of the men, and when I tell you these are leaders, these are not like hand-picked people. These are people that are leading something and have decided to come under this covering. And so when we have these meetings, most of these guys, like I said, have been with me for years, and most of them show up every single month, no matter what. I've got men who live in places like Australia and New Zealand who are doing this at 4 o'clock in the morning just so that they can be at the meeting. Okay, so for them, they get up, really early to make sure that they can be in these meetings. So you should be very proud of them as I am. Okay. Then we have Purim coming. All right, so this is on Tuesday, March the 7th. All right, 6 p.m. Okay, just to clarify for people, you're going to go look on your Jewish calendars and everything else and get all confused. There's 2 dates for Purim. There's Purim and there's Shushan Purim. Okay? So I usually pick the one that kind of covers the night in between the two if I can. Or if one of them falls on a date that we're already doing something already and we can kind of combine those things, then I'll do that. So this is on the night that's from Purim going into Shushan Purim, I believe, okay? All right, so it's one day for either group. Not like you have to do both. And so then we're going to pick that one for us. So that's on. Now what we're going to have is dinner at 6 o'clock here for you who want to come and be here. And then we're going to have a Purim play. So we're very excited about that. Okay, we had auditions tonight and... And I didn't get to watch much of the auditions, but it looked like we had a lot of people there ready to go. So fantastic. All right, so that's on March 7th. Then we have Passover coming. All right, Pesach 2023. Now, that's from April 5th to the 13th. So Passover meal will be on that night, Wednesday night the 5th. Okay, and then the 13th is no longer part of the whole thing. It's the day everybody would be going home. So I put the next day there. So it really ends on the 12th, and then the 13th would be when people would leave. So we don't want you leaving, when it's still the holy day. Okay, and the 12th will be the holy day. So, we encourage people to stay at least till sundown on that day or then leave the next day. Okay? So there's still time to register. Okay, I think we have registration up until about a month before as our official closing date for registration. So we have over 150 people already registered. We expect to have about 400 because that's what we've been averaging at these events. And so it's important to get your registration in because at some point, depending on how the meal plan goes, we may be sold out on space in here to eat. Okay, it's not that we won't have enough room for you in the tent outside the front for like sitting during the services and stuff. It's really more a problematic issue of sitting in this dining hall. We only have so much room we can fit people in here to max out. All right, and we came really close last year. All right, so it got real close at the Passover meal. We pretty much maxed out. All right, so get your registrations in. Okay, you can call here, 423-250-3020. Marlene will be back, and you'll be able to talk to her and get registered. Or you can email, go to the website, mtoi.org/Passover, and fill out the form online. If you fill the form out online, it does not automatically send it to us. You can actually type your information in right there online. Save it to your computer, then you'll see in the same place where you click to download the form, There's another link that says to upload the form, fill out your name, your email address, and then click, and then you can attach the form back to us. Then it will email it to us. Or you print it and scan it, or save it to your computer. When it's filled out, you can email it to us at feasts@mtoi.org, feasts@mtoi.org. Okay, that will work too. Or you could just hard copy, send it to us, etc. There is a button on the site. The donation button does have an option for you to pay for Passover 2023. So if you want to pay for your feast event that way. And also, you can send a check or money order here, or you can just bring cash when you come. Okay, we do have a deadline for the payments. We really want everybody paid by the deadline that's on the papers. I don't have the papers in front of me, okay? All right, did you have anything you want to add to that? No. All right, so that's the Passover deal. So, a couple of more quick things. One, we had our Level Up class today. I forgot to give you guys homework. All right, you don't want homework? All right, so not everybody's here, but if you were here, if you're watching online, hopefully I'll mention this again Friday before so you have 2 weeks for this homework. Okay, I want you to take that sheet that I gave you today, look at it. It's part of our goal setting and target setting that we're going to be doing here coming up soon. I want you to start thinking about the things that are on there. I want you to go through your homework from last time, all your assessment sheets, okay, your inventory sheets, and I want you to think about, because of that information, that should help you figure out what kind of goals you may want to set, what things you may want to improve on. And okay, so I want you to get ready for the goal setting. All right, that's because if I told you to just pick some goals before you actually did your assessment, you might not have picked the same goals you're going to do now that you've done your assessment. Okay, so I want you to be prepared to aim at targets and to pick them in the next class. No, you don't have to. You should be continuing tracking. Of course, you're supposed to do your tracking sheets. Okay, the finances, you should have already gone back 3 months, but now you should be going forward with your ledger sheets, okay? And all the other things that were in your inventories, you want to track them every day. You want to get into the habit of every day keeping track. Because what it's not only going to do is tell you, as it's been for the past 2 weeks, what you've been doing, but you're going to see when you start to make changes if the changes are actually being implemented. So you need to track, okay? Metrics are important. Measuring things is important. The only way you're going to know what kind of results you're getting is if you look and you measure them, you track them. So yes, please keep doing your tracking. All right. Also a reminder, I announced this yesterday, for those that are interested, Tony Robbins and his team are doing a free thing called Become Unshakable. It's becomeunshakable.com. It's a free 5-day program. He says it's going to be an hour and a half. He said that last time and he went like 3 hours. Okay, so each day, it starts Tuesday and Saturday. You are not to do the Saturday class. However, if you want to pay $47 for his VIP, you get the recordings of everything and you can see the Saturday class on Sunday or any other day. All right? What? No, I told you not to buy courses until you finish courses. Okay? Buy this course. All right? This is not like spending hundreds and hundreds. This is from the Level Up class, okay? For all of you that are out there to understand what I'm saying, I don't like that people just run around buying more and more courses for the same area they're trying to improve in without doing any of them. First, finish the one you have, and if you get what you need out of it, great. If you didn't, go get another one. Try somebody else's course. Now, I'm not saying you can't do two things at the same time. I don't know what Tony's going to teach. I just know it's going to be great, and it's worth $47. All right? And it's also going to be worth it for free, but do you have those days from 2 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time until 3:30 or 4 o'clock or whatever he goes blocked out? I don't. I will try to make it to some of those, but I paid the money so that I can make sure I can watch it when it's done. Okay? Because I have to do it at my convenience, and if it's going to cost me $47, that is so cheap for one of the greatest trainers there is, and for 5 days, you're going to get at least 10 hours worth of material for $47. It cost me several $100s to see him live for the same amount of time. This is years ago in Manhattan at the Marriott Marquis. He was doing a sales training there, and he probably went about 8 or 10 hours at least there, and it cost me way more than $47. And it was worth every penny, okay? All right, so that he's doing and promoting on Facebook all over the place, and so just go ahead and consider doing that if you're looking to work on yourself. I have no idea what he's teaching, okay? It's something about being unshakable. Whatever it is, I promise you, if you go through the whole thing, you'll learn something valuable. He's one of my mentors, and one thing I can tell you, we have a problem in our ministry and life that we run into is people overcommitting and underproducing. He overproduces. Whatever he says he's going to give you, he always gives you more. That's why when he tells me it's going to be 90 minutes, no. Okay, he's going to give you more. And that's the great thing about these really, the best teachers are going to give you more value than you pay for every time. Okay? So I want to encourage you to do that, especially because this is Rosh Chodesh. What are we talking about in Rosh Chodesh? Always you talk about the turning of the page. It's a new day, a new month as we're going forward. One of the things that I want you to really get is that you have to be looking at self-education and self-improvement as an obligation that's your obligation. Because Christianity taught you it was going to come from outside. The reality is it doesn't come from outside. It comes from inside. The outside is watching to see what you do. And then will then respond to your actions and bless you or not based on your actions. But it has to come from inside. So you should be taking courses on a regular basis, free stuff when you can get a hold of it, in all the areas of your life, not just finance or business or this, but emotionally. Look, if you've got an issue, anxiety, depression, anger, loneliness, whatever, there's programs out there to help you learn how to handle those things. Whatever your issue is, ADD, so whatever, so you're on the spectrum autism-wise, there's things you can do to learn the workarounds. Go take a course, get free stuff, watch videos, listen to find mentors out there that know what they're talking about. You'll probably have to go through a few that don't know what they're talking about. So don't just believe that everybody knows what they're talking about. Okay? Now, especially if you don't know who they are. I can tell you Tony knows what he's talking about. I've been listening to him for almost 40 years. No, over 40 years. Pretty much since like 81. All right? So that's a long time. I can tell you, almost everything he's done, I've already gone through, and it's good. Okay? It's fantastic. I almost actually worked as a regional, what's the word I would look for? A facilitator, where I was actually going to facilitate his program in New York. In my 20s, that was something I almost did. But the franchise to buy that, to do, was $25,000. So let me tell you something. In 1981, that was like $80,000 today, which as a 20-something-year-old, I didn't have. Okay? Oh, yeah, it's dirt cheap. Thinking about it now, it wasn't dirt cheap in 1981 at the age of 23. Okay, well, let's see. 81, I was 18. All right, so 18 years old, that was not cheap. You got to remember, I was getting paid $3 an hour at the time. You got to have your perspective. Minimum wage was only like $3.25 maybe, all right, whatever it was. All right. So that being said, that's all I want to cover. The giving statements. I have people that are still emailing us and snail mailing us. Maybe there are people that don't watch the live streams. Please stop doing that. Okay? First of all, I've got people mailing me about something that I don't know why they're all upset that I haven't given it to them yet. We are not obligated to give you anything till the end of the month. So why would you bother anybody for your statement? Well, because you want to get your taxes done. You have until April 15th. And nobody's obligated to give you this till the end of the month. That's what the law says. Now, they're already starting to go out from what I understand. Okay, so we have a third-party accounting firm that we use that is going to be sending these statements out. They're the ones who keep track of it all year long. I don't know what you gave this year. Okay, so if you ask us, we don't know. We have no record of it, like in a nice database to go, oh, this is what you have. We have an outside firm taking care of that. Yes, we process the money when it comes in, and it goes in the bank, and that's all I know. So if you want to know and ask me, well, to send you a statement, you have to wait till they do. They will send it out on time, and you'll get it. If you don't get it, then contact us after the first week of February. Give it a week after the 31st to see if you get it. Okay? And then once you get it, great. Look at it. Make sure it's right. Any issues with it, there'll be a number or a way to contact them to say, hey, there's an issue with my thing. Don't get mad. People make mistakes. Things get put in the wrong place or some other thing. So just don't say, oh, I gave more, and they'll fix it. Don't worry about it. One of the things we're going to talk about in Rosh Chodesh in a minute is dealing with your emotions. All right, now, so they may not have had your right address. They may not have had your address at all. Okay, maybe you had the address on your check wasn't the right address that you live at now, and somehow we didn't get that fixed. So if you don't get the statement, don't worry about it. Just contact us after the first week of February. We'll put in touch with them. We'll get that information to them that's needed, or we'll put you in touch with them, whatever they want, and we'll get it fixed, okay? But please stop harassing us for something I can't give you anyway, because I don't have it, okay? Now, that should do it. Lastly, every week I'll keep mentioning this. People are sending out some scam emails claiming they're from this ministry and from me, asking for funds, asking for this or that, or whatever they're asking for. They're not from me. This ministry solicits nothing ever. Okay, we do not solicit. If I ever wanted anything from you, it would come from a microphone where you see me saying it. All right? I've never asked anybody for money. This ministry has never asked for funding or donations, and we never ask for anything. So if you get an email that says that, you should know it did not come from here. Okay? You should also know me, I don't email. I don't even read email unless I have to. Okay? And so to think, and then on top of it, it said from church office. Okay, do you think we would call anything church office? And it wasn't even from an email that ended at MTOI.org, which should have been a clue right there. Okay? Because all of ours come from that. Now, that doesn't mean someone can't mimic ours and claim it's coming from our email. Look at the content or contact us. Do not be fooled. We do not do this. Okay? I don't send emails. I never have. I don't even text, and that's even less writing. Okay? I don't write. All right. That's going to cover it for the announcements. Okay, so let's talk about Rosh Chodesh, all right? There was clapping because the announcements are finally over. So you can clap for that. Okay. All of a sudden, I'm back in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and there was much rejoicing. Yay. It was one of those fake, yay. All right. Of course, in Monty Python, there was always somebody died, so there wasn't, I don't know, it was dumb. Okay, now. It's Rosh Chodesh, the month of Shabbat. And so, as always, I want to cover things that I always cover, which is number one, these markers of time are those moments, like I was mentioning briefly about the Level Up class, there are things that we track. Time moves, and we have moments where we can use it for tracking. We look back and see how we've been doing. We look forward as to where we want to go. So we have these times to pause and assess. All right? When you take the Level Up class, and I hope everybody does at some point, the leveling up process begins with assessing where you are. Okay, this is the mall map thing. You are here. So you start off and go, where am I? And then you have to go back and go, where was I before last month? 30 days ago, where was I? Where am I now? Has there been any improvement in any area of my life? Have I progressed? And if the answer is yes in some areas, celebrate that. Be encouraged. Keep going, but be encouraged, right? Don't stop. But if there's areas that you really wanted to, but you didn't, well then redouble your efforts, get motivated, figure out what was stopping you. What was in the way of your progress? Why were you not motivated? Because people say, well, I'm just not motivated. Well, what is the underlying force underneath motivation? Okay? What's underneath that is a reason. Okay, motivation doesn't just happen. It only happens when there's a reason. Usually the reason is you're motivated because you want something. And the more you want it, the more motivated you are, right? Or because you don't want something and you want to fix it. If you're overweight, until you really don't want to be overweight anymore, you're not going to lose the weight. You have to really want to lose the weight. If you're out of shape, you're not going to get in shape until you really want to go and get in shape. If you have a bad habit like drugs or alcohol or cigarettes, you're not going to stop doing that until you don't want to with enough passion when you don't want to do that anymore. And so when you look back and say, well, I really haven't made any progress in this area and I really want to, but do you really want to? Or do you just want to, like, listen to my voice. How does this sound if I told you, I really want to get in shape? Or if I said, man, I am so done. I need to get in shape. I can't stand that. I can't even tie my shoes. Okay? I bend down to tie my shoe and like everything gets cut off from the esophagus to the fallopian tubes. Sorry, that was the TikTok that Billy and I watched. There was a guy that said that. He goes, and I almost passed out, and he says, everything sort of just stops working. And I was like, you don't have fallopian tubes. Anyway, that was the funny part. Look, I've lost, how much? Over 20 pounds, right? And I can tell you, before I lost any of that weight, it wasn't so easy to bend down and tie my shoe. I don't even have the fallopian tubes. It didn't bother me. Okay, I understood what the guy was talking about. He said, I have to take a breath before I bend down or I might pass out. And I get it. I don't have the problem anymore 20 pounds lighter. But you see the difference in my voice when I said, well, I think I'd like to get in shape. Or, well, how do you feel? Do you want to get in shape? Yeah, I want to get in shape. Or, I'm done being out of shape, not being able to bend down and pick things up, or not able to run and move around, not getting exhausted going up a staircase, whatever it is. Do you hear the tone is different? That's got to be going on inside of you, or you're not going to get anywhere. You don't do anything without the passion and the desire and the need to get there. And so these are marking points in time where you can say, okay, I'm here now. Of course, if you do this every month, you know you looked at yourself last month the way you were then, so you should kind of remember that. And then look and see, have I made progress in those areas that I want to? And by the way, write some of them down. It's easier to track. Okay, today's a new moon? Fine. Make some little goals about, I want to improve in this area, there, and then have that paper ready when we get to Adar next month. No, not Adar, your daughter. Her daughter's name Adar. Okay. But when you get to next month, if you have that paper, you got something to look at and compare to. All right? So I want you to understand that there's so much value. By the way, you get this, you can do this weekly from Shabbat to Shabbat. You have a measurement of time. Every year cycle from Sukkot to Sukkot, from Passover to Passover, whichever way you want to do it from one feast to another. Maybe you go from one feast to the next feast. So from Passover to Shavuot, that's a window of time. Shavuot to trumpets is a window of time. Okay? Use these times effectively, these moments of measurement that you can have. But also recognize that whatever happened leading to this point doesn't mean it has to continue that way. You can make changes. This is a new day. It's kind of like people say, when you wake up in the morning, you just realize it's a new day. Well, every day you have that. But you can have that every new month. You can have it every new feast, every annual, as an annual thing. You know, the world traditionally likes to make New Year's resolutions. You can make resolutions and resolve to do some things differently every month, every day, every week, doesn't matter. But whether or not you resolve to do it or not, that's the point. Okay? They're not New Year's resolutions. They're New Year's good intentions. You know? And the intentions aren't even necessarily good intentions. That's just to make you feel good, like, I'm going to do this year, and you forgot about it the next day. Okay? And so with these more frequent markers of time, you can have an idea of whether or not you meant what you said when you said it last time. You know, well, when we got to last month, I said, that's it. I'm going to start going to the gym. And then you can look back and you went once. All right, so much for that idea. You didn't really resolve to do it. You kind of wanted to do it. It was an idea, it was a desire, but it wasn't passionate. It wasn't a strong desire. You didn't really want to go do it. So let's remember these markers of time. And also let's remember that because you're still here, you still have a pulse, you're still breathing, at least most of you. And you're here, you know what that means? It's not over. You can still get to where you want to go. Not just in all your aspects of life, we're talking about the big picture with the kingdom. Because a lot of you are struggling with the thinking of, I'm not going to make it. No, you can make it. If you're still wanting to make it, if you still have the desire to make it, you can make it. The only way you can't make it is when you stop wanting to make it, stop making the effort. Wanting isn't enough. You have to make the effort. But you're not going to make the effort if you don't want it. In other words, don't quit. If you don't quit, it's not over. Okay? You know the old saying, it's not over till the fat lady sings. That's not what it is. It's not over till you quit. Don't quit. All right? Don't quit. You can do this. He called you because he knew from the day he called you, I don't care if you were 50, I don't care if you were 70, I don't care if you were 12. When he called you, he knew from that point forward you could make it. He knew why he picked that age and why he picked you at that moment. He could have picked you at any moment. But he picked you at the moment he did because he knew that was the moment that he needed to do it. He also knew that from that moment you could make it. if you would choose to heed that calling and make the effort. And he knew that you were at an age where you were in your life and everything when that bubble got popped, that you could do that. You could put in the effort. It's not outside your strength or your abilities. You can do this. And a lot of people say, Rabbi, you never give us that much encouragement. Every Rosh Chodesh, I give you the same encouragement. You can do this. You also don't have to if you don't want to be in the kingdom. You don't have to if you don't want to live forever. You don't have to. Nobody's making you do anything. But if you want it, you can do it. If you're struggling to do it, what does it mean? You don't want it bad enough. Any area of struggle is simply a matter of not wanting it bad enough. You know, we all know this, the old proverb of, not a proverb like in the book of Proverbs, but a proverb of, where there's a will, there's a way. That simply says, if you want it bad enough, you'll figure out. I told everybody in the Level Up class today. I'll tell you guys too for free. All right? It's not going to spoil anything. And it's not going to take away from what you guys got in the class that you paid for. All right? This is important. Okay? Stop focusing on, stressing about, and worrying about how. Okay? Stop focusing on and worrying about how. That is, believe it or not, the how, which you think is the big deal, is the least important piece of the puzzle to focus on. You'll figure it out. If there's a will, there's a way. What you got to work on is the will. You'll figure it out. Okay? If something went wrong in your house and you're all by yourself and you've never tried to fix it, you'll figure it out, which means you might just go call somebody to come do it. That's still figuring it out. In other words, the solution will come. So don't worry about, well, I don't know how to do it. I don't know. So what? Somebody out there knows how to do it. Go find them. And by the way, I wouldn't have to tell you that. If you wanted it bad enough, you would do that. You wouldn't stop. You'd be completely relentless in your pursuit of getting what you want. Problem is that most of us lack the passion. We don't want things very badly. And the few things in our life we wanted badly were probably things we shouldn't have wanted in the first place. And that got us in all kinds of trouble. You have to want things with passion. Okay? One thing I can tell you that nobody's ever accused me of was having no passion for things. All right? I get excited about the things I get excited about. You know what I'm saying? The things I want to do, the places I want to go, the things I want to accomplish, I get fired up about it. But that has to come from inside of you. It doesn't come from an outside source. Father, please give me the encouragement and the passion. No, stop that. He's going to sit back and go, no, that has to come from you. That's in you. You got to dig that up, spark a little flame, blow some air on it, nurture it, put some more kindling on it. You got to build that fire up. Okay? Look, I remember when I was in Amway so many million years ago, one of the phrases I used all the time was fired up. Right? Being fired up. Well, if you're not fired up about anything, you're not going to get anything done. There's got to be a fire there. And the bigger that fire is burning, the more you're going to figure out what to do. You'll find somebody to do it. You'll figure it out yourself. You'll learn how to do it. You'll take a course, whatever you need to do. So Yahweh said you could do this. He didn't say you just have to do it all on your own. He didn't say you couldn't get any guidance and mentorship. He gave you me in a vertical structure, an elder and Rabbi Tom. And so you have structure. But he said you can do this. If you want it bad enough, all of the other things, the how will come. And I'm not talking about the how like mechanically. You have a book that tells you mechanically and a teacher that's done teachings for you. I've done all those teachings to tell you mechanically. But you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get my heart right. I'm going to stop doing these things and get strong. And well, not if you're going to keep whining like that. You know, the whiners are on the outside, not on the inside. You ever read in Revelation? The guys all wailing and whining are not inside the camp. They're not inside the millennium. They're not inside the kingdom. Now, I'm not talking about the ones who are then in the millennium. You've heard my teaching. I'm talking about the ones who are of the first resurrection. You're not going to be in that first resurrection if you're whining. Anybody think whiny babies are going to be in the kingdom with eternal life and all that other stuff? No. You're going to have to fix that. I don't know what to do. You have to want it bad enough. You have to want it bad enough. All right, that wasn't what I wanted to talk to you about. I wrote a little paper down. Actually, it fits right into what I wanted to talk to you about. In the slides we just had for the Rosh Chodesh service, as well as when we went through the Torah portion this past week, we talked about from Exodus 6, in the 4 cups, we had the idea of deliverance. And I briefly was mentioning about slavery is bondage, right? Bondage and slavery are terms that go together. And so a lot of you are in all kinds of bondage. 4 areas specifically where you're in bondage. You're financially, a lot of you in bondage. What do you mean? If you don't go to work and do what the boss says, well, then you're in bondage because you have no freedom to do what you want, right? You have to go to work. You have to show up. You have to do what they say. That's bondage. Some of you have, and worse than that, is that you can't even choose a different place because you're afraid to lose even a few weeks' work to go get the new place to go work because you're so choked out and barely making it. So you don't have freedom, okay? Freedom of choice, freedom of movement, these are all things that bound people, enslaved people can't do. So you have bondage. You guys are dealing with emotional bondage. If you can't just be happy, you have bondage issues. If you can't just have peace, there's some bondage issues. There's things, well, you know, this is making me mad, and this is making me depressed, and anything's making you, that's bondage. If something can make you do something, then you're a slave to it. Can we agree? If anything can make you, trigger you, make you feel a certain feeling, that's an emotional bondage. You're controlled by those triggers, and it makes you, quote unquote, makes you. I say quote unquote because it doesn't have to. That's still your choice. But you think it's making you feel a certain way. You really do have the freedom to feel anything you want. Yeshua did not get all angry and offended when they were scourging him and everything else. They spit on him and all these things, and he just said, this is what has to happen. Forgive them, Father, they don't know what they're doing. That is not somebody that would be like most of us, getting all beat on and everything else. As the world picks on us, our families pick on us, and life picks on us, and what do? We go back to the whining and complaining. All right? And finger pointing, because it's everybody else. Well, you know, if those people would just stop, I could be happy. No, you still won't be happy. You still won't be happy. You know, I had a really good friend. I'll give you an example. I had a really good friend, and I remember in Queens College, I mean, it's a long time ago, had an event at a Catskills resort. There's a smart move. Take a bunch of young college students and send them into a hotel by themselves. Nothing bad could go wrong with that. Barely chaperoned. Anyway, so one of those typical Catskill hotels, which meant everybody ate in a big dining hall, right? And so they sit 15, 10, whatever people at a round table. And so the waiter came by, and my friend saw that there was lipstick on the cup. Like after it went through the cleaning and they put the cups out, it was dirty. And he, of course, complained about it. And then the waiter started walking away, and I said, come here. I said, look, don't worry about him. He's not happy unless he's complaining. As a matter of fact, next meal, bring him a fork with some food on it. The next one, do a spoon. He needs something to complain about. Otherwise, he's not happy. Because he's so mad. No, he's happy as can be. He's got something to complain about. But that's some of you are that person. You laugh. I actually said it to the waiter, and he did. And we all enjoyed that. And he really enjoyed it too, because he would look for something anyway. You might as well give him something, right? You know people like that? They're going to look until they find something to point at. So might as well give him something up front. Here's something to play with. Have fun. But we tend to whine and complain. And that's really where the issue becomes. All right? So that's a bondage. You're bondage in your emotions. Because if anything can trigger you, that means that you have lost the power to respond. Isn't that what a trigger means? The button gets pushed and you go into autopilot, auto response. So you've lost the freedom to choose. Of course, you still have it, but you've abdicated that authority to the trigger. You've allowed that trigger to develop. And you know why you did? Because you really didn't mind the reaction in the first place. You liked getting upset, sad, depressed over the thing because you thought it was something that you should do, instead of recognizing that you didn't have to do that. You know, it's hard, and I get it's hard because I know I don't have to get upset when the password doesn't work. And every now and then I actually laugh and realize I don't have to get upset when the password doesn't work. But it's about that awareness that you're in bondage. And you can't really have that freedom that you want. You know, you also have physical bondage. What kind of physical bondage? Okay? When you don't move your body right, and you don't eat right, and you don't do the things that keep you healthy, and you do things that are toxic, you're basically forcing your body into an unhealthy place. And that's something that you could choose to do differently. Well, it's not convenient. Oh, it's expensive. Oh, you know what? That's all a bunch of junk. You know what? Not having a healthy body is more expensive than eating right. I don't care how expensive you think the food and supplements are. Getting sick is expensive. All right. Now we'll get to the last one, the one that I know we're already familiar with, the spiritual bondage. So what's the spiritual bondage? It's not what you think. Okay, it's not Hasatan and the demons, just attacking you. I'm under spiritual attack all the time, right? People say that all the time. That's not the bondage. If we look at the spirit, what is the spirit when I've taught it in the Understanding the Ruach teaching? It's the fullness of the intent. When it becomes your nature, right? When your nature is not his nature is still inside you, that means that you've bound it up. Right? He gave you the earnest or the taste, the seeds of his nature in you. And you've bound it up with all of that, what you want, your intent, where you want to go, what you want to do. And so you have a spirit of disobedience, you have a spirit of self-sovereignty, you have a spirit of arrogance, you have a spirit of aggression, you have a spirit of pacifism in some way that makes you just so meek that you do nothing. You've got the spirit of cowardice, you've got the spirit of laziness. I mean, this is like your intrinsic nature. Okay? Because remember, actually that's what I taught you in the Ruach teaching, is that the intrinsic nature. So your intrinsic nature, when it doesn't match his, it means you had to bind his up so yours could be there running rampant. And so this is bondage. You have to unbind his nature in you. See, a lot of times I think people think that this is something that comes from outside and you have to have him give you his nature. It's there. You have to just nurture it. You were born with it. Okay? Somebody did ask this, and I was going to address it in the Level Up class, but I'm going to address it here. They asked it last time, which was, one of the things that I gave them on a sheet was, the most important thing to know is you need to be your authentic self. Your authentic self. And somebody said, well, what if my authentic self really isn't a very good person? I'm going to say that's not true. Because the authentic self is him in you, with your personality. But it's him in you. Problem is, you haven't seen it very much because you think you're such a lousy person because it's all bound up. Does that make sense? So that's why you think, yeah, but my authentic you, I'm just not a good person. No, the good person's buried under all that stuff. You need to set him free. You've bound it all up. And it's bound up by all of your garbage and emotions and all of the other junk that makes you so thinking I'm not good, I'm a lousy person, I'm whatever, and all this negative stuff. He didn't create you that way. Stop with this whole original sin thinking like Christianity wants to give you. We're just all sinners because of what Adam did. Which is so funny because they always say what Adam did, not what Eve did. All right? And sure, he's the covering and really should get the blame. But it's not like we're some tainted, awful thing because of what he did. What's happened is the human nature has stepped on, buried, and bound up the Elohim nature. And that nature has to be set free. And then your personality can be free to attach to that. And then you can be the you version of him. Instead of trying to make him be the him version of you. You're trying to mold him into your image. And that's not what you want to be doing. And so I want to encourage you that as we look forward now for this next month, let's start working on recognize all of the bondages in our life, all those areas where we're enslaved, which means we don't have freedom, but we're enslaved. You know, the Torah is called the Torah of Freedom by James because when you know what's right and what's wrong and you walk in them, it gives you freedom. And you are actually free. What happens is people don't want that. They think free means I can just do whatever I want. Well, doing whatever you want is only going to bring you misery. Matter of fact, a lot of you still are doing whatever you want, and are you happy? No. Doing whatever you want does not work. Doing what he wants works really well. And one of these days, the light bulb goes off, hopefully, and you realize that, and you start doing what he wants, not what you want. So I want us to break free of the chains, of the bondage. You want deliverance? This is the path to deliverance. First is recognizing where the bondage is, and then recognizing that there is a way out. And the way out can be guided by the above. The above is not going to just take you out. He did not take the Israelites out of Egypt. He led them out of Egypt, and they walked. All right? He'll lead you out of your bondage, but you have to walk. You have to pack your bags, gird yourself up, put on your sandals, grab your staff, and walk. Amen? Amen. All right. All right. Father, we come before you. And Father, it's a new moon. It's a new month. And we're so excited for this time. And we're going to ask now that you would inspire, that you would lead us out of the bondage, that you would inspire us to go forward and do the things we need to do. Give us the inspiration that the fire can be sparked and the passion that we need to achieve the things that we need to in our transformation into what you are. Father, we're not asking you to do these things for us, but to guide us on how we can do them ourselves. And so, Father, we know that's what's pleasing in your side, is that we trust you and your leading, but we also trust that you want us to step up and do the doing. So, Father, I want you to bless all here in attendance, all that are watching online, with the encouragement to make the effort to do these things, to just try and keep trying and never quit. So, Father, we want to thank you for this new month. We want to thank you for more time to keep growing and working on our lives. We want to thank you for everything in the name above all names, Yeshua our Messiah. Amen. 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 All right, I know that kind of closed things up, but I realized after that prayer that I didn't give anybody a chance to say anything. If anybody wants to say something or ask a question or make a comment, you can come on up. Shockingly, Steve jumped out of his chair, and so did Janet. I can't believe it. All right, you can bring the podium out and the mic. There you go. That's probably too far up. Back up a little bit. That's probably good. Is that good? Rick, we good? All right. Grab the mic. By the way, everything I said, ignore it and throw it out if you're not going to do anything with it. Okay? Because it was a waste of words. But if you would embrace it, oh, your whole life could change. Seriously. Every bit of it. Remember, it's just words and motivational words, and it's, people are like, oh, just got to have all the... If it's not coming from inside, and it's not going to make your feet move, and your hands move, and your brain change, and your emotions change, everything, it's of no use. All right, Steve.
All right, I had this from listening to some other stuff the other day, so hold on. I put this, don't give it your all until it's inconvenient. When you do that, inconvenience will show up as already determined by allowing inconvenience to be a stopping point.
All right, thank you. So in other words, if you're waiting for the most convenient time to do it, it's not coming. Okay? It's not coming. You got to do it because it needs to get done, not because it's the right, convenient, easy time to do it. All right, Janet.
Rabbi, when you were, thank you before for the message and your teaching. When you were talking about the authentic self, that you were saying the authentic self is him and you, right? So I started thinking about how I have heard from in the past, like from even a rabbi, and even in less personal development, that we are good in nature, or we have a good nature. Is that correct? And also, how does that align with the evil inclination?
All right. Good question. So first of all, I'm glad you said that, because this is why I like the Q&A, because it gives me a chance to rephrase things to make it more clear. Your authentic self still is your personality when you're being him. Your humor, your unique perspective on things, the way you interact and present things. Because every one of you is uniquely different in so many ways, and they're wonderful ways. That's why it's so great when we get groups together, and I can talk to one of you, they can talk to. It's just wonderful, the different flavors and nuances and all the things that you bring. But you're bringing it forth still as your flavor added over the main core thing, which is him, right? That's your authentic self, is him with your flavor wrapped around it, your unique sort of perspective around it that makes you, makes you so enjoyably different in being you. But you're being him in that way, if you understand what I'm saying. Now, that being said, okay, and we're talking about the authentic self, when you talk about our nature, because you have to understand, your human nature is an adversary to his nature. Not his nature in you that's an adversary to him, but your human nature. You remember you have the spirit of man and the spirit of Elohim, the spirit of Hasatan. You got three to deal with, really. And so the spirit of Hasatan really isn't the problem. I know that shocks all you Christians, but all the spirit of Hasatan do is it's an opportunist. It's just going to encourage you to do what you shouldn't do that you want to do. But you shouldn't do it, but you want to do it. Or you don't want to do it, but you should do it, and it's going to encourage you not to do it. So it's the voice of encouragement to go in the direction you want to go. It's kind of like the hardening of the heart type of thing. It's the direction you already want to go. So those who have the Yetzer Hara, that's when they let their human nature rule and not his nature rule. The evil inclination, the desire to do things that don't match up with him. You know who ends up in the lake of fire? Not evil, horrible people. Just people that don't want to be him. Do you understand? It's not as complicated. So I don't want you to think only horrible, evil people end up in the lake. No, it's the people that don't want to be him. Okay? They don't want to be who they are wrapped around the core of him. Okay? So all we are, we're like taking him and we're putting a different clothing or outfit on it, and we're giving it a different tone of voice and a little bit of humor. But the core, the heartbeat, and all the rest of it is him. Okay? So you and I may do exactly the same things, but you know what? You're going to do it a little bit different because you're you and I'm me. Even though we're both doing what he said, we're not breaking any of the commandments, but we'll still do it a little bit different. We're going to bring a little bit different, wonderful flavor to it. That's you, that's not me. And that's the other person, not that person. So the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, we all have that. That's the human nature. Those who overcome that are now allowing his nature to rule and their nature to be subdued. So when we talk about bondage, we need to not only take off the chains of him that's in us, but bind up the part of us that's an adversary to him. Don't mean bind up your personality, but bind up all of that inclination towards the self stuff. I don't like it. I don't want to. I don't understand. That's not fair. Whine, 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 complain, complain, complain. That needs to be bound up. The part that says, I love you, I praise you. My king, you're awesome, you're amazing. The one that thanks him and praises what David says in the Psalms. If you could sound like that, that's what we need to sound like. Now, you don't have to use David's words. Those are David's words. You have your own way of saying it. Did that help? All right, you're welcome. All right, Ashley.
I just wanted to come up here and with this Rosh Chodesh is a bit different one for me because today, I don't know if you saw, but I had so many jaw-dropping moments in the Level Up class. And then what you said here tonight just ties everything up beautifully. And I just wanted to say thank you because I just got done talking to several professional people, and they don't even say half of the stuff you said. And so I seriously want to say thank you for all of that, and we can apply it different ways to our walk, and I appreciate it.
Amen. I mean, look, I may be much more direct than some of the other people you may study with at some point, even with the level up type stuff, like the personal development things. I'm not going to give you, I did give you a few stories, but they were quick, but I'm not going to give you those long story testimonials to try to get your emotions engaged, whatever. If you can't get your own emotions engaged, it's not my job. Okay, I'm going to tell you what you need to do. You have to find that in you. And you could probably find your own stories in you if you look for them that would give you what you need. Okay, but I'm going to give you, it's going to take less time than some of those other guys do. In some ways, it may take more because I'm going to be patiently repeating myself over and over until you absolutely get it. But it's going to be very direct and straightforward, which is what makes a difference. Okay, Rocky.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for what you just said. I mean, that's just intense. That's hard to swallow. Makes you want to run away. It makes me want to run away at times.
And you didn't even get to go to the class yet.
No. But it still reminds me, like I said a few weeks ago when I was talking about Lot, and what Lot, the meaning of his name means veiled. And that makes sense, that you know, the primary essence of me is him, but it's veiled by this flesh and what I want, what I think. And it's just like you really made that just like the light bulb come on, so thank you.
Awesome. Appreciate that. And look, and you know, everybody's gotten a wonderful opportunity to enjoy Rocky's personality, right? And we all love him very much. And that personality is very different than, say, Janet's personality, who we've gotten to love, or different than Steve's personality, which we've gotten to love, or different than Ashley. In other words, they all bring their own unique sort of way of expressing things as they're all walking and becoming him. Okay? I wouldn't want them all to sound the same. Okay? Just like I wouldn't want everybody to look the same. What kind of, if everybody looked exactly the same, what would that, there'd be nothing to kind of be, you know, the excitement of just the variety and all that kind of stuff. But yet we're all at the core trying to become him. That's why he says, let this mind be in you, this mindset. I want you to have the approach and the thinking and the mindset of Messiah, but you still have to have your own unique perspective that brings that flavor that's you. John.
Well, thank you, Rabbi. Since today is supposed to be measuring yourself, I looked back yesterday, 3 years from now. I was in debt my eyeballs and didn't know what was going on. I was all stressed out, was stressed on the road, everything. Today, when someone does stuff stressing me out on the road, I just shove my shoulders, move on, and I have about 600 hours extra every month now after all the bills are paid. So I'm no longer stressed out with any bills, stressed out on the road, or nothing. I'm just in peace and shalom every day.
Amen. Amen. Hold on. Okay, and would you give credit to that you came and got counsel?
I only became counselor for you twice.
But that's what made, I want people to hear that. I'm not trying to take credit, but I want you to hear where he was and how much changed when he came and got counsel. He wanted to know what he should do. I gave him some encouragement to do this. He did what I told him. So it's not just the counsel he got, but he did it. And now look where he's at. From 3 years of misery and broke and frustrated, and now he's got extra money. He's got peace.
You have all the four things you said about the leveling up and that. I'm already there. I've been there for almost a few months now.
What 4 things?
The 4 things you were talking about before this.
The 4 bondage things. Yes, financial, emotional, physical, and spiritual. Yeah.
I already broke those bondages.
Good. All right. You're better than me then, because I'm still bound with this password thing and a few other things. But all right. Anybody else? You got any on the live stream? Nope. We're quiet and good? All right. Thank you all for participating and your comments and questions and that kind of thing. All right. So with that, you're over there. I'm going to come on this side. Anybody who wants to be on camera, come over here. We're going to wish everybody a Rosh Chodesh Sameach. If you want to be on camera, come over here. If you don't, then go that way. You're the only kid this time, so you get the hugs. Here's somebody else who's going to get some hugs. She gets most of them. All right. Okay, we'll wait for a few more people to move over. All right. So for all of you out there, we want you to know that we are absolutely 100% aware that you're there, that a lot of you come to everything that's going on. You participate just like you were here and just as committed to being a part of this group and this body, or at least this part of the body. And so we want to just recognize you by looking right at the camera, waving at you. We're going to wish you absolutely a Rosh Chodesh Sameach. All right? Okay, Rosh Chodesh Sameach. A Shavua Tov, a good week. And we're going to tell them that we love them. On 3. 1, 2, 3.